What's up, softball players? Coach Dan Blewett here. Today, January, oh no, not January 1st, December 31st, New Year's Eve, I wanted to give you just a couple resolutions that I think are valuable to you. So if you're into doing New Year's resolutions and you're trying to, kind of start fresh and make some big changes for this next year and this next decade, then I think I can help point you in the right direction. So obviously I've been, as a pro baseball player, I owned a baseball and softball academy. I've worked with lots of players, baseball and softball, all ages, all ability levels, and I've had a lot of experiences myself. And one of the biggest things with athletes in becoming long term as good as they want to be is picking up lots of little habits along the way. It's just like if you're hiking through the mountains and you're going on this really long journey, you might pick up some fresh water at this outpost here. You might grab some food here. You might grab a new tool here, some new shoes, new socks, like things to help you down the road in your journey, right? So this is a good time of year, January 1st, where people are motivated to start fresh and get the new year kicked off right. And so I think there's a lot of things you could potentially pick up from me and from other people that can help you along on your softball journey. So let's get started. So number one, in 2020, please, 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 please stop comparing yourself so much to other athletes you see on Instagram. And I know kids aren't on Facebook very much or Twitter, but I think Instagram is the most where we can post videos of ourselves looking super happy, super excited, super successful, hitting home runs, striking everyone out, but we never post our failures. And it's really just this distorted view of the world. So as an athlete, you're always just trying to maximize yourself and optimize your own ability, right? Like I'm me, I'm gonna grow up at the only pace I can, right? And you might be watching me here today and you're just waiting for your growth spurt, or you're just still kind of tiny, or maybe you're still really slow, maybe you're still just waiting for something that you can't really control. We've seen that over and over and over in my academy. Kids are waiting for a growth spurt, they're just waiting for their bodies to change so they can just, hit their next stride and really go. And a lot of stuff like that is really, really hard. You might have a teammate who's just 5 inches taller than you or just so much faster than you, and they're the same age, and it's really not that they worked harder for it. They just maybe were genetically blessed for it, or maybe they hit a growth spurt well before you did, or they're just physically a lot bigger and stronger than you at your age. I wasn't the biggest kid when I was a 16, 17-year-old. I was a pretty average kid. And so when you compare yourself to other 14-year-olds, 17-year-olds, 10-year-olds on Instagram, you might think, wow, I've been working really hard and that girl's so much better than me. And that can be a very disheartening thing to see. No matter how hard you're working, how well you're doing, there's always someone better. So in 2020, focus really hard on running your own race. Don't compare yourself to everyone out there. Don't worry about what other people are doing. Worry about what you can control, which is your attitude, your effort, your work ethic, your eating habits, your sleep habits, your schoolwork, how good of a teammate you are, how good of an attitude you have. Those are all things that you can really control. And while it's good to sort of get evaluations from other people and understand where you are in the pecking order of life, it's just a really bad habit to be comparing yourself to everyone that you might see on the internet when they're only posting their highlight reels and their best self, okay? So in 2020, definitely make it a resolution to don't worry so much about the really good players you see on Instagram. Just really focus hard on being the best version of yourself. Number two, eat. When we trained lots and lots of female athletes at my old academy called Warbird Academy in Illinois, we were constantly imploring the girls that we worked with to just eat more. I know there's a stigma that girls don't want to get big and bulky when they're lifting weights, but we've had girls that worked really hard in the gym 3 to 4 times a week for years, and they never became bulky, not at all. They became really strong, they became very fit, they became very athletic and fast and powerful, but you don't just go from thin to like this hawk just from lifting weights for even many, many years. So what we really needed to see with our female athletes, though, was that we wanted them to put on weight faster and put on muscle faster and get the gains that they worked hard for. Because if you don't eat, kind of above and beyond your normal dietary habits when you start working out, you're not going to give your body the tools and the building blocks to put on the muscle that you want. Like you lift weights, so you get stronger and put on some muscle, But if you don't eat and give your body the tools to do that, it's like trying to build a house without any lumber or without any, concrete blocks. So make sure you treat eating like a really serious part of your training. Like, it needs to be almost like a job sometimes. And I know especially for female athletes, you guys don't have the biggest appetites. Like, the boys often out eat you, right? But you need to treat that college scholarship that might be, in your future, or it might be that's something that you've got your eye on, or maybe it's that varsity starting job, or maybe it's making that elite travel team. Those are trophies that you can attain if you're working really hard and you're eating the right things. So having a really good diet, not just eating all the broccoli in the world, which is great, but also just eating lots of calories. It should, healthy food should always be the cornerstone of your diet, but at the same time, you have to get a lot of calories. That means it's okay to eat some pasta. It's okay to eat carbs and white bread and all this other stuff. You want to eat healthy food, but you still need to get a lot of food in your diet. So this next year, treat eating a little bit more like your job. And just remember that if you want to get stronger and faster and throw faster and hit the ball harder, you've got to get stronger and put on some muscle to do all those things. And when you eat a good diet with healthy food, but also getting enough calories, it's going to make all that stuff happen faster. It's like free gains, free muscle, free strength, free extra base hits, and free miles per hour. Okay, so make sure eating is a major priority for you in 2020. All right, number 3 resolution is to be able to do at least 1 complete pull-up and 5 excellent push-ups by the end of the year. Now, I don't know if you watching this video, if you currently lift weights. I hope you do. If you have a strength coach, if you have a really good program that you work out with, whether it's at a sports performance facility or at your school. But with the girls that we trained, it was always our goal that girls could do full, complete push-ups on the ground with excellent form. And I'll link in the video description below to one of our videos that shows what good form for push-ups is, because it varies. It's not one of these push-ups. It's arms back and down, which are harder. They put more demand on your triceps, which are more important muscles for throwing harder and hitting harder. But also, upper body strength is really crucial. It's really crucial, and it's something that female athletes lag behind their male counterparts with. So we had to work extra hard with our girls to get them to hopefully one day do a complete pull-up, and that's like arms completely outstretched all the way down, all the way up. That typically will take 1 to 2 years to get there. And then push-ups, typically 3 to 6 months, depending on how hard you're training, your age, and how well you're coached, and all that sort of stuff. But it should be a major milestone goal, and it's awesome when we see our girls get there, is doing 5 or 10 good push-ups on the ground, with excellent form, and doing 1 complete pull-up. So again, those are good long-term goals to build towards, and there's a lot of other ones in the weight room, but upper body strength is especially important for female athletes. And so if you're trying to prioritize your training in the new year, obviously your whole body strength is really important. Your lower half training is really important, your glutes, your hamstrings, especially for speed and for power, but also your upper body. So if you're looking for objective measurements of what a strong female athlete looks like in the middle school and high school range, doing 5 or 10 really good clean push-ups on the ground and a pull-up is a really good measurement that you've put in a lot of hard work and you're stronger than at least 90% of your peers. So make that a really good resolution to do excellent push-ups and a full, clean, full hang all the way up, all the way down pull-up. Okay, number 4, and this one I think is a little outside the box, but I think it can be really, really valuable. So one of the things that a lot of athletes struggle with is consistency from one game to the next. Whereas you might go, 4 for 4, and have 2 doubles and 2 singles and a walk one day, and you're just super hot at the plate the whole weekend. The next weekend you're super cold, you can't hit the broadside of a barn, or maybe your pitching is up and down and it really fluctuates. The way that you normalize those, and one of the common traits amongst all high-level athletes, is they have really good routines. So they always do the same things that are really productive for them before each game. They warm up when they're pitching the exact same way. They get almost the exact same amount of throws. They time it perfectly, so they're perfectly ready to go when game time hits. And that's something that takes a long time to learn. It's something that I learned when I was in my probably early 20s and really didn't perfect it even until I was in my mid-20s as a pro pitcher. and it's super, super valuable. So one way to start improving with your routine, if you don't have a coach, and I'm sure you have some coach in your life who can help you lay out a routine, but for yourself as a scientist, trying to be a good, when I say scientist, I mean like a good scientist for what you're doing. Are the things that I'm doing in training, in pregame, in my practice, are they good for me, right? So scientists are always checking variables, and they're trying to figure out what things cause certain reactions, and trying to figure out and understand the world. So for you, being a good scientist as a softball player means, okay, when I do my pregame routine or my practice routine, are these things that I'm including good for me? Do they make me my best self? And if not, what things should I take out and what things should I add in? And so a good way to do this, and this is my recommendation for this next year, is start a little journal and just write down maybe 30 seconds worth of stuff before and after each game. Just take some little notes of stuff you did today that you felt were helpful or were not helpful. Maybe make a little log of how your game went. Like, how did you feel? So if you took a log for an entire season, you're like, hey, Monday threw great, like 7 innings, 1 run, 10 strikeouts. Pre-game I did X, 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 all these different things. And then next time out, you're like, oh, I didn't feel very good. My arm hurt. I did these different things in pregame. You're over time going to start to figure out, hey, there's a little bit of a pattern to this. Maybe I should not do A, B, C, and I should do D, E, and F. And if I do that, maybe it'll help me. And then over time, you're going to start to really craft a good routine that helps you be at your best. So I think just little habits like that could be really valuable. And I know, especially for softball players, you guys play doubleheaders and tripleheaders a ton. You'll have a little bit of downtime between games when you're just eating and you're just waiting for the next game to start, or tournament games are running long, where you can just scratch down a little bit of stuff like, hey, this is what I did today, this is what I ate, this is what I did in pregame, whatever it is. And you can just start to have good notes, and you can go back through that, and you'll be, again, that sort of like good scientist about figuring out what's good for you and what might not be so good for you in your routine. Maybe you're throwing way too much before a game, or maybe you're running way too much during the week. Or maybe you're not eating enough because you start to write down some of the stuff you're eating on a tournament weekend, right? Maybe you're not eating healthy enough food and you're losing energy by game 5, 6, 7, whatever it is. So I'd encourage you to take some kind of journal, and with the idea that you're going to hone a really good routine for the next year so that you can develop that routine that's going to help you be at your best. And my last recommendation for your New Year's resolutions is to start some sort of mental training practice. And this could just be that before every game, I find a little spot and I sit for 2 minutes cross-legged, I close my eyes, and I just imagine myself and I relax. And I imagine myself performing well today and I relax. Or it could be I watch an inspirational YouTube video on the car ride up to every game. Or it could be I made myself a little playlist and I listen to it while I sort of like talk myself through what I'm gonna do in my pregame routine. Or maybe it's I'm gonna read 3 books this year, and they're all going to be about mental training, or they're going to be about some inspirational person that I really admire, like a famous athlete or a famous, it could be a politician, could be an author, could be a doctor, could be someone inspirational that you look up to, that maybe you're going to learn something about their toughness and their resolve and their work ethic that helped them get where they were. So a mental training practice can look very different, and it could be whatever you want it to be. But I encourage you to spend some amount of effort finding some sort of mental training practice this next year, because especially for softball, there's so many ups and downs. There's so much luck involved in the game. There's so many things that you'll do right and you'll get punished for, and things that you won't do right that you'll get rewarded for, right? You throw a pitch right down the middle, they pop it up. You make a really good pitch another time and they hit a blooper in, you lose the game, right? Sometimes you're just hoping for a hit, and you just scorch one right at the shortstop. You scorch another one right at the center fielder, right? You just can't buy a hit sometimes. Those are the really hard parts about softball. And so when you have a mental training practice and you're always trying to help yourself stay a little more even-keeled, stay relaxed under pressure, to understand that, hey, it's a long journey because I read this person's book and I learned a bunch of stuff from watching this person on YouTube give a speech or give an interview. All those things are going to benefit you in the long run. It's like giving you more coaches, more mentors to help you understand the world and your place in it. So in 2020, I'd really encourage you to spend some amount of time forming a mental training practice. And again, it can be whatever you want that to be. It could take a lot of different shapes, but it's a really important aspect of your game as an athlete. Okay? So I hope this video helped. I've lived through a lot as an athlete. I've lived through a lot as a coach. I've seen tons of different athletes come and go, different ability levels, different levels of mental toughness and physical strength and physical talent. And the big thing that unites all the really high performers is that they continue to get better every single year. They continue to chip away and do all the little things right. And so when you make resolutions, which is a good positive habit to get into, it's just a chance for you to develop new habits that, again, will carry you further in your own softball journey. All right. Thanks for watching. Thanks for being a part of my YouTube journey this past couple years. I hope my videos have helped you. And I'm also looking forward to having a better 2020, putting out better videos here, more content to help athletes like yourself, parents, and coaches. So stick around and let's all have a pretty awesome decade.